What is the challenge? Because, I mean, the National Assembly will say that challenge is not coming from us. We appropriate what it is that you're asking.
Well, there's appropriation and no, there's appropriation and there's always cash backing. And you know, school feeding falls under recurrent expenditure because it's feeding. It's not capital expenditure. And recurrent expenditure has, I'm not an economist, I don't know all these finances, but I do understand that there's a limit to, you know, how much of it can be deployed at a particular time. But, you know, we're doing well. We're not in a disaster area. We're doing well.
Well, we'll come to whether or not you're doing well and even what members of your party have to say about this social investment program as a whole. But then there are questions to be asked as to whether or not you've taken in the peculiarities of the regions, of the different states which you implement in this program. First is the question of who gets the credit. You cannot implement this program unless the states buy into it. Is that right?
Yeah, some of them.
And a number of opposition states and opposition parties have bought into this program. Is it really fair for the federal government to then take all of the credit? Because the Buhari administration keeps saying, we promised this, and we're doing it. But they forget that even the states that did not promise it are doing it as well.
Well, they're doing what?
Feeding the school children, aren't they?
No, they are not feeding the school children. We are feeding the school children.
There is a counterpart funding which they have to bring.
There is no counterpart funding. Absolutely none.
Well, we know that. We know for a fact that the federal government is only feeding children from primaries 1 to 3.
Yeah.
There are questions as to who is supposed to look after nursery school, and if indeed schools will also want, you know, the...
That's not part of our program. That is a responsibility for the states. We want them to do that, but if they don't do that, it's not a condition for us to move into a particular state. There are so many states we are feeding right now that are not doing the rest.
So what is the support precisely then that the states give the federal government?
The states own primary schools. It is only with their permission that we can move in.
None of their logistics, none of their infrastructure, nothing. There's no role that they are playing?
In fact, if there's anything, we've been giving them way too many leeway. We give them an opportunity to make sure that they get us. They do a census on the schools. They give us number of pupils. We move in, we do our own enumeration independently later on, and they get an opportunity to give us aggregators, to give us the cooks within the vicinity because they are the local people, to give us the menu because of what they produce in that particular state. We provide the money 100%.
If it's such a favor, why aren't all the APC states involved?
Because we have to go through. It's not about APC, right? It's about the whole country now, and we are in 26 states, and we are working towards the rest of the states as well. There are some states that thought erroneously in the beginning that they needed to keep some kind of funding, just like, you know, there's this counterpart funding in UBEC that you have to have, you know, a certain amount of money before we give you a certain amount of money. There were states that actually thought that, but we have explained to them that, no, look, we have a particular amount of money to feed a child a day from primary 1 to 3. That is the mandate. We expect you to feed primary 4 to 6, which we think is moral for you to do, but that is not a condition that we have said must happen before we move in. We didn't say that.
A little more focused on the schools now, which you're feeding them. I was asking about peculiarities. For instance, Lagos is yet to start this program. They say that 17 naira is way too small to feed a child in Lagos State.
That's what they say.
Are you putting all of this kind of peculiarities?
We're moving into Lagos now. We have reached some sort of an agreement. We can't go beyond 17 naira.
What is the agreement?
Well, they have agreed finally to allow us to move in and feed their schools.
Okay, well, we'll see how that goes, because I know that I heard the deputy governor saying that 17 naira is not practicable and they have to reach an agreement to the federal government to see how they can feed a child in Lagos. Yeah,
well, we hope that they'll be able to complement whatever it is they feel is necessary. But we cannot take Lagos apart from other states. It's going to be uniform all through.
Okay. Are you also looking at the schools that are saying that, you know, it's a problem when you're feeding primaries 1 to 3? And the nursery school students are looking, pupils rather, are looking and wondering what is going on, that they practically have cries when this is happening. Are you listening to complaints like that?
Yeah, we listen to complaints like that, but we can do only what we can do. And we have decided the mandate is between primaries 1 to 3. And we hope that the state governments will be pricked morally to do the rest.
What is the situation with Kaduna State? They started way before the federal government in the school feeding program because they felt it was a part of the manifesto of the APC,
right,
and their APC state. And at some point they had to back down. What's the situation with them now?
I don't know. I'm not an official of Kaduna State. I know they did start, and I know they did stop, but we've moved and we're feeding in Kaduna.
So the school feeding program is going on in Kaduna
Oh,
State.
absolutely, yeah.
The social investment program has suffered criticism even from party members. Some of them who say that this program, you know, scores low in their own estimation. One example is Senator Danjuma Goje, who had, you know, expressed his mind when just this year, in April of this year, when Mrs. Uwais was before him. He talked about how they're yet to feel this program even in the state where he comes from.
Yeah, but I think the media didn't catch the hold of that conversation, because the conversation went on because we went on to prove to him that there are a lot of people who are beneficiaries of Empower, a lot of people who are beneficiaries of other, you know, programs under the social investment. And then he agreed before we parted ways on that day. But I think the sensational journalism we have just captured where he was.
You had to prove to him. It's interesting that you had to prove to him.
But
when,
you know, okay, let me tell you why. Let me tell you, you know, part of the things that the program had to suffer in the beginning. Why there were a lot of people who were skeptical about it. And you know, old habits die hard. You know, people expected that program of such nature would go through political actors directly and then have them give names and stuff like that. We stayed away from that. And if there was one thing that we were able to achieve in this program was to cut out middlemen and unnecessary political and undue political interference. And that always kind of rub off wrongly on politicians, you know, rightly so. But in Gombe State, I think we have nothing less than about 4,000 to 5,000 people who are members, who are beneficiaries of Empower. With our 2017 batch, I think that number has gone up to about 11,000 in Gombe State alone. And that is, you can find that in all the 11 local governments they have. If they have 11 local governments, I think they have 11 local governments. And in all the wards that they have.
Two quick questions. Senator Danjuma Goje is a politician, as you rightly pointed out, and he is going to seek elective office based on some of the things that your party would have done in Gombe State, including the school feeding program.
Yes.
Now, you talked about how politicians were not involved directly, and you know, some of them
in giving out names, yeah,
alienated, so to speak. And some people felt that with your appointment, I mean, someone who's coming from core politics, you will understand the grievances of the politicians.
And I do, absolutely.
Did you feel that as your responsibility in terms of bridging the gap?
Yes, which I am. I was the one that went to his office 2 or 3 times afterwards to tell him that I wasn't there when the interaction happened. You know, I was out of the country when the interaction happened, in particular interaction you were talking about at the Senate. The committee, then the members of our staff and the special advisor were able to convince him afterwards, but it wasn't captured by the media. But I was able to go and bridge the gap, and he understood fully well. But as a politician, and because this is a political promise, I absolutely cognizant of the fact that politicians need to know what's going on. They don't have to influence it, but they need to be informed well enough to be able to inform their own electorates. I think it's fair.
You think it's fair? Is that happening now?
Yes, it is.